There you go. We are now live and open. It's great to be here. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our 2021 BC Lions Free Agency Town Hall. Great to have you great fans and season ticket holders joining us here as we are talking football. Yes, a couple of the gentlemen on this panel, well, all the gentlemen on this panel have been busy in their various duties with the organization. My name is Matt Baker, and again, it's great to be talking football. The last time we talked to you, I believe, was Grey Cup Unite back in November. That was a fun time because we were honoring Grey Cup history, talking about the past, hoping for the future. Well, now, fingers crossed, of course, that everything goes our way. We're talking about 2021 as we've had a good week in free agency, really a good few weeks of adding some players, keeping some key players. So joining us tonight, we'll get a bit of a rundown here. Lions president Rick Lawlisher is on this call, as is co-general manager, head coach, defensive coordinator. I think I got all his titles in there. Rick Campbell is here. A man everybody knows as well as a co-general manager / director of football operations, Neil McEvoy, will be speaking and will be taking your questions. Joining us in just a few minutes' time will be quarterback Mike Reilly. Get a bit of a player's perspective on the excitement as we look to hit the field in 2021 as soon as we can. And I'll tell you what, Rick Lawlisher will laugh at this because he's used to more severe winters. We had our taste of winter here the last couple of days, and I'll tell you what, that got me thinking and dreaming of October, November, being outside somewhere, whether that's Calgary, Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Hamilton in late November. You never know, of playing some weather football. So we're very excited to be talking about this team that these men are all putting together. So without further ado, to kick off the proceedings, I'm going to welcome in our team president, Mr. Rick Lawlisher. Rick, take it away.
Thanks, Matt, and good evening, everyone. I certainly hope everybody is safe and healthy. It's hard to believe that it's been 12 months that we've gone through this. Just a year ago, we had just finished free agency and starting to football guys looking after the drafts and planning for season and for training camp. And here we are 12 months later. With the Lions, so much has happened, and yet so much hasn't happened. So there were a number of questions that some of the season seat holders sent in to do with the business side and the stadium of BC Place. And we will be communicating in greater detail as we go forward, but we thought for a couple of minutes before we talk football that just cover from a high level point of view some of the things that we're looking at. And we, of course, do not have all the answers right now. A lot of what we're going to be able to do this coming season is going to be predicated on what Dr. Bonnie Henry and the provincial health organizations say. And but I can guarantee you that we are working towards playing a full season of football. And if we have to start late, we'll still try to get a full season in. And if we have to go less games, we will. But clearly, all of us, the players, the coaches, the staff, we want to be back on the field playing football. We're working very hard on our return to play plans. We have to file with the health authority a return to play from a staffing and a player and a coach's point of view. So we have actually 3 locker rooms to draft a plan for in a training camp in Kamloops and our Surrey facility, and of course BC Place. So we're working at that from within and working with BC Place on a return to play for our fans. At this point, of course, we're not sure if we can play with fans or how many fans we can play with, but I can guarantee you as a season seat holder, you are going to be our first priority to get into BC Place. We're still not sure how many we can get in. And with that, you'll be receiving in the next little while a questionnaire of a number of things, but it's very important that we try to get information on who wants to sit with who and how many seats. And we need that to complete our social distancing plan if we have to go that route. So as I'm sure you can appreciate, if there's a company that has 8 seats and they want to give the tickets away to customers, then it might be 4 twos instead of an 8. And there may be twos that want to sit with other members of the family and in a pod. So we're going to undertake a questionnaire on that regard, coming to all our season seat holders in the near future, probably in the next week or so. There's also going to be some new protocols with BC Place that they've put in place, and we've been working with them. First of all, we're going to have a digital ticket this year and not a printed hard ticket. And second of all, they're moving to a clear bag policy with anything that you carry in. So we'll be communicating more of this in the near future. And I can only promise you that we will communicate of everything that's happening, when it's happening, and when we work towards getting back on the field. And a few of you asked about the radio rights and TSN 1040. It was a week ago today that Bell Media chose to cancel TSN 1040 as a radio system in I guess all of BC. It had a lot of coverage. Anyways, we're still not sure what's going to happen. We still have to have conversations with Bell Media, and but I can tell you, I've talked to Moj and Julio and Karen Sermon, a sideline reporter, and they're very hopeful that we can find something going forward that they'll still be able to be involved, because they're our Lions at heart. And so we'll be working towards that in the next few months prior to whenever we get back on the field. So tonight really was billed about let's talk football, and I can tell you from when we added the responsibilities to Neil and Rick as co-general managers late last fall, they have been working tremendously hard, and I can't say how much I'm pleased with the two of them working together, along with our football personnel staff, to develop the roster to where it is today. So, Matt, let's talk some football, and back to you.
Yeah, let's talk some football indeed. And Rick, you and I will talk a bit more next week in a separate interview on what is going on as far as return to play plans, as most of tonight will be devoted to football. But while we still got you here just for a minute, John is weighing in, attending this tonight. He wants to know, is there a way, and realizing all this is still up in the air, Rick, of course, it's still very much in the preliminary talks, but can a season proceed even if there are no fans allowed when we get the green light to play this year?
It's very tough. You know, we're fans. We're looking at some things. I'd love to say that yes, we can. We're going to play at any cost, but it's very difficult. There may be an opportunity that, depending on whatever the provincial health officer tells us, that maybe we could play a couple games to get started with no fans, and then build up to fans in the seats. There's still so many unknowns right now, but we'll do anything we can to make sure we get as many games in as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I think I speak for the entire organization here, Rick, where that's one of the things we miss the most about coming to BC Place is seeing the fans smiling and seeing everyone entertained. So we definitely hope for the best as far as spectators in 2021. All right. And again, Rick and I will talk more on that next week. We thank Rick Lawlisher for taking time out of his busy schedule for joining us here tonight. As mentioned, for fans, and I see the questions starting to filter in. We'll get to some of the questions that were pre-submitted in just a few moments' time, but utilize the Q&A chat function for those watching here live, all these great season ticket holders. Okay, without further ado, we are going to talk some football. These two men, very busy the past few weeks. Again, it's not just about last week, although we made a couple of pretty good additions last week. But to talk more about that, to lead off here, we're going to go to head coach, still undefeated as a BC Lions head coach. And we hope that stays true for as long as it can, as far as when games get back. But Rick Campbell going to say a few words right now.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to talk football tonight. These things are personally, they're fun for me because we get to actually talk about players and things that are going to happen on the field. And so I'm excited about that. Then I know you guys being season ticket holders are the heart and soul of the football team. So thank you so much for supporting us and taking the time here to talk tonight. Just a little bit of an overview, just to piggyback on what Rick Lawlisher said of when Neil and I got this added responsibility. I had a really good idea it was going to work. Neil's been around here so long, he knows the CFL so well, but also knows the BC Lions and this whole area so well. So that was a big part. Also, G-Roy Simon and Rob Ralph and Ryan, our new scout, and just retaining the whole coaching staff. We had enough continuity that I thought it would work out well, and it certainly has so far. Just to give you a quick note on what we're doing as coaches right now, which we do everything on Zoom, or mostly on Zoom, just like a lot of people in the world are doing right now. But we've just finished doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the roster goes with free agency and restructuring guys and all that. So that was a big piece of the puzzle. The personnel department continues to try to find players. That's a 12-month year job. That happens all the time. So that continues on. As coaches, we're going to shift into two modes. One is we help with both the CFL draft and the global draft. So the personnel guys definitely take the lead on that. Like I said, with G-Roy and Rob and Neil and those guys, but the coaches definitely write up reports and look at guys too to get another opinion. So the coaches will spend time doing that. And then the other thing we do as we head into March is we'll have meetings as the offensive and defensive staff and special teams, making sure we're getting all our ducks in a row for playbooks, getting practice plans, things for training camp, all that stuff. Make sure it's all ready to go. And then we will definitely have some voluntary meetings with players and making sure they get back up to speed, so that whenever we do get the green light, we'll be ready to head to Kamloops or to training camp or whatever that looks like. So Neil, I'll pass it on over to you.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, so far so good. We've been working well together, and we're going to continue to do that. I would thank Rick Lawlisher for giving us the opportunity to start this process, and you know what, we're going to finish this process as Grey Cup champions at some point. Yeah, I mean, not more I can add. I mean, we're working on the draft. We're working on training camp. Free agency, I know some people weren't as excited because we didn't sign some guys that maybe we should have. But to be quite honest, we did all the heavy lifting before February 9th started. But we've added guys like Marcus Sales and Bola Cumbo and Lucky Whitehead and Shaq Cooper. Those are key components that we all feel will come in and make this a better football team. And that's, since day one, since we started working at this for the last year, that's been the goal. And, we'll continue to do that. And, by adding the free agents that we did and getting the draft going and the global draft, we are going to be as competitive as possible. And right now we have all the key ingredients to be competitive. So, with that, Matt, I think there's not much more to say. We're pretty much hit all cylinders.
Yeah, just expanding on that, Neil. I mean, you've been around here a very long time. 1995, I think it was. Sorry to date myself here, but very quickly before we bring on Mike Reilly, nothing's really changed for you. You've done a lot of this contract stuff. You've been involved in recruiting players, scouting. New title for you technically, but it must just feel regular. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, I was doing before. I guess the only difference is you didn't have to go across the hall and talk to Ed or knock on Wally's door and beg him for a couple more dollars just to get some guys done. But now you got to talk to Rick, and Rick and I put our heads together, and so far, and I can't see any stumbling going forward. We're going to get the players that want to play and want to be BC Lions, and those are the type of players we want. But Yeah, I've been with this club since 95, 96. So there's been a lot of up and downs. In the 90s, it was tough. In the 2000s, it was we had a lot of excitement and a lot of good football teams. And you know what, the team that we see on paper today, and the team that we started building, quite honestly, in 2020, after the 2019 season, we pretty much said we had to not start from square zero, but we had to add some key pieces. And it's been almost 2 years adding key pieces, and I think when we get on the field for 2021, the fans are going to see that, and we're going to be a competitive, exciting football team. That's what we wanted to do.
Very well said on both your part, and stick around here. We'll get to the Q&A in just a few minutes' time. For now, we'd like to welcome in a very special guest. He was in some way, shape, or form, he was involved in the last town hall in November. He just wasn't visible. He was texting and trying to throw people off their game. And I'll tell you what, right when I saw that come in that night, I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on contract-wise, but Mike Reilly is here. He's all in, and I do see him now on this panel. There he is. Michael, how's the weather in Seattle?
Oh, it's balmy. It's great. We've melted off about 12 inches of snow, so it's nice to have that gone. It's turned my yard into a mud bath, so that's fantastic. Going to go out and play football with the kids tomorrow, probably. You're welcome to join Baker if they'd let you cross the border. You'd have to sign the release form, though, because I can't guarantee your safety. And I'm also not sure what you're talking about, that whole thing in November. That wasn't me.
That was just a guy that had a similar hairstyle and beard as you, I think. Yeah. Same area code.
I thought you were just reading text messages. How would you know what his beard and hairstyle?
Same area code. I know. Say this guy's got a burner phone or something. But anyway, a lot has happened since you spoke to our fans, and I want to take it back a couple of weeks. We announced Brian Burnham had re-signed, and just kind of in casual conversation and some of the press conferences we did with him, he mentioned that he was having some fun with you. He was trying to sort of joke around and make it seem that he wasn't going to resign, and he was kind of trying to act sad on FaceTime. What was that like for you?
Yeah, well, obviously Burnham's a very good friend of mine, somebody that I've gotten close to over the last couple of years, in the season that we played together, and he's a great football player, of course. So, a guy that I obviously wanted to have back on the team, but the one thing that you learn when you play enough football is that things are changing all the time. Coaching staffs are changing, rosters are changing, everything's changing. So you don't let who you're playing for or who you're playing with affect your friendships. So I knew that we were going to stay tight either way. But it's nice to know that we're going to be throwing footballs to him, of course. There was, as with any free agency, and especially with the unknown of the pandemic and everything, I think this year's free agency has been wilder than most in just the unknown and not really knowing what's going to happen with players. Guys signed contracts and were on a team and never even took a snap and then ended up on other teams. So it's just a weird scenario, of course. But, I have faith in the other two panelists that we have here that, they're putting together a great roster and they're going to do, whatever is best for the BC Lions. And it turned out, to have Burnham back on our team. So I'm obviously very excited about that. But, I don't think that he ever passes up an opportunity to try to mess with me a little bit. He doesn't get that chance very often. And he knows that by the time I'm throwing him a football on the field, enough time will have passed to where I won't be upset with him anymore. So, I think he used that to his advantage.
Obviously, we love number 16, but this offense overall, we're talking about guys like Lamar Durant, Shaq Johnson, and I don't want to leave anybody out here. I mean, these two address the running back spot there with Shaq Cooper. Must get you excited, right? Yeah,
I mean, I'm most excited about what we're doing up front. I think that's the biggest key, on both sides of the ball, of course, but my focus is offensive. And, you got to have those guys to be able to protect. in the pass game. They got to be able to blow some holes open in the run game. It goes without saying that I'm excited about the weapons that we have, both at the wide receiver and the running back position. But more importantly, I do believe that we're going to have plenty of time to get those guys the ball. When we get the ball in our running backs' hands, they're gonna make some good things happen. So we picked up a lot of speed on the outside with some of the free agent signings. I'm sure you guys either talked about that or you certainly will. But I think the biggest thing, and you could see it with the urgency that Neil and Rick took in getting our guys locked up that we wanted to have playing up front and getting that taken care of, and having those guys with Kelly Bates coming back. They all kind of started to build a great chemistry, and having a guy like Riker re-signed, it's going to be an exciting thing to have those guys up front taking care of business.
It all starts with the big guys up front. That's very, very true. And by the way, before we get to the Q&A, if I were to try and cross the border, come down there, see you, I just want to ride that Ferris wheel again. That's what I wanted. None of this football stuff.
Well, social distancing would require for you to be in a separate pod than me. So I think I'm okay with that. That'd be fine as long as you're paying for my ticket again.
Yes. Well, we not to get too inside and personal here, but we somehow have our content license after all that. The people weren't too thrilled with us going up there with the camera, and John, our former video guy, had to go up again and get more B-roll, and then we somehow came away unscathed there. So
that was, I had forgotten about that. That obviously was a momentous occasion in your life. You can remember all the little details. My goodness, it's like probably remember more details about that day than your wedding day. That's pretty impressive. But now that you jogged my memory, I do recall wondering if they were going to confiscate the video equipment when we got off of that Ferris wheel. So.
Well, it's a bit more recent. Wedding day for me was, I think, 9 years ago. So, but yeah. Yeah. All right, moving along. See? Yeah. But we got to do part 2. I mean, it wasn't really a good omen because of what happened in 2019.
I thought you said we were moving along. We keep coming back to that.
We're moving along.
Hey, Matt, I just wanted to remind you,
yes.
I know your boyfriend's on the call, but we have season ticket holders and stuff that want to talk football. So
this is not about me. Yes. Okay. So
fanboy, Matt, it's not the time to be a fanboy.
That being said, Q&A. Use the Q&A function. We'll do our very best to get these questions in. And well, we're gonna start with Mike Reilly because again, it's our first time getting a chance to speak with him in this forum in quite some time. Paul in Coquitlam, Mike wants to know kind of what we're talking about with these playmakers. With these playmakers in this offense, could it potentially open up a little more creativity as far as screen passes, play action, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that those types of, whatever you want to call them, change of pace type of plays, your non-conventional plays, you got your drop back in your run game, but then, you have play action, screens, draws, things like that. I think those are important in any successful offense, but you have to be able to run them at the appropriate time, right? Meaning your play action is not going to be effective at all if you can't run the ball well, right? Nobody's going to care that you're faking a handoff. They're only playing with 5 guys in the box or whatever and dropping everybody back. That's not going to be effective. And then in the screen game, it's great to have a guy that can catch a ball and use his speed, which we certainly do. But again, you got to have those big boys up front, either releasing out and getting downfield and getting on guys and land those blocks. And your wide receivers have to be physical on the outside too, and they got to be able to block the secondary. Otherwise, you end up being those teams that are always in 2nd and 12 because you just took a loss in a screen or you took a sack on a play action or something like that. So it all goes hand in hand. The good news is that Jordan McSimic is probably one of the most creative and intelligent football minds that I've ever played with. And he is a big believer in being effective on first down using all those different types of plays that you're mentioning. So I do think that we're going to see more of that in our offense. I think that, with Shaq and Lucky, certainly being speed guys that we picked up, those are guys that we can utilize in that type of game. But again, with the play action, it's going to be crucial for us to be effective in the run game on first down so that we can use that play action. That's generally when you're going to hit your big home runs over the top is when you can get people sucked down in the box and biting on the run fake.
There you go. Well said. Another one coming in. This one we'll let the brass take this one at least to start. We talked a bit about the O line, but Paul and Langley was wanting to know, as far as the O line being a bit of a concern in 2019, how have you addressed that? I mean, Neil, you can talk even a bit more about guys taking restructures and that kind of thing. There's a real buy-in there, is there not?
I mean, Mike will say the same thing. I mean, the key to your football team is your offensive line. Okay, those are the guys that are usually the close-knit group. Those are the guys that usually live in town. Those are the guys that usually are the leaders of your football team. We wanted to make sure that our offensive line was going to be good enough to protect Mike when he's back in the pocket. And we felt last year that was a key too. That's why adding guys like Riker Matthews last year was a key, and keeping this year guys like Joel Figueroa. So we got two cornerstones at tackles, and we have a group of guys that are inside in Hunter and Peter Godber and Suk Chung that are, top-notch offensive linemen. So if they can stay healthy, which, you know what, the year – when we've talked to them, the year off has actually been good for those guys because they haven't been beating their bodies, and they feel that coming into training camp, they're going to be the best shape and the best, health in their career in a long time. So, we're excited about that group, and we're even more excited to have a guy like Mike, behind them, leading us in the right direction.
And we'll go with this. We'll go to Rick Campbell for this next one then, as we continue a bit about the roster. Lauren in Kamloops, Rick, wants to know, can you talk about your linebackers and how you plan to deploy them this year? Again, a couple of real intriguing names that are in the fold.
Yeah, so we have some good options going at linebacker. So one is which I think is very unique, is we have four Canadians, being Bola Cumbo, Guzlak Messam, Jordan Williams was our draft pick from last year, Adam Konar, Noah Robinson. All these guys are guys that can line up and play really well. So definitely looking forward to that. So we have the option to go all Canadian at our, what we call our Mike and our Will position. So that's going to be a good battle. Dyshawn Davis is here too, is another really good football player. So I'm excited about our linebackers. I'm excited that we have options as far as where we want to start our Canadians. And so looking forward to seeing that battle take place. And not to be underrated, as all these guys I mentioned are top-notch special teams players. And to win football games, obviously you got to be good on offense and defense, but also a huge part of the puzzle is how you cover kicks and how you return kicks.
And now that we've talked a bit about the linebackers, might as well stick with the defense here just for a minute. Bruce in Delta wants to know about the plan for getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. We're talking about our own quarterback here tonight too, but as far as upgrading the D-line, and, to an outsider, maybe that wasn't looked upon as something the club has done, but there's a couple of names on the D-line that maybe fans might not know about yet that could make an impact here come training camp and be counted on to play big roles. Neil, you want to start there talking about some of these defensive linemen?
Yeah, we felt that when we started the process of bringing in top-notch guys that, we didn't feel that we were able to do that on the offensive line. The offensive line, we felt we had to work within the group we had, because we felt the group was pretty good, and get them solidified. We felt that our defensive line was a group that maybe we could upgrade with younger guys. And so we've signed guys that, have talent, who have NFL experience, who have all the assets you want to rush the passer, both on the edge and inside. Plus, we have veterans like J.R. Tavai and Chris Kasher, who are back. And Chris hasn't played for us yet, but he was with us last year, and we retained him. So the inside guys are going to be young to the CFL, maybe not young to professional football. So all the guys that we have signed that are going to be fighting for the defensive tackle spot all have experience playing, or the majority of them have experience playing in the National Football League. So we felt that, some of the guys that we may have had in the past, we were able to move on from, and, we still feel we've upgraded that position and we'll be, monsters up front.
Rick, anything you want to add there? I mean, you have defensive coordinator on your portfolio, of course. I mean, what can you say about the defensive group up front?
Yeah, well, I'm excited about it. The name that only comes up to me that I would guess people are talking about is Micah Johnson, which is fine, who ended up not playing for us. Some of the stuff came down to money. We had to make choices on who we could retain and all those things. I'm definitely excited about JR Tavai and Kasher. Like, those were two guys we targeted in free agency last year. So to have those guys back, I'm excited. And then, like Neil said, these new guys, which everybody's new at some point, but they're guys that have pro football experience and NFL experience, which doesn't automatically make them good players, but they're not these young guys coming straight out of college. So I think we're going to be able to do some good things. We also hope to do our plan, even going into last year's, we want to do some different things up front, mixing up, showing some different fronts and blitzing some linebackers and DBs and doing some stuff that hopefully is a little bit complicated for the offense. So there is some unknown there. I will agree with that, but I am excited about it and looking forward to working with these guys.
Okay, good questions so far. Keep them coming in. We'll go to the chat. I think it was both Chris and Ken had asked this one. Want to give credit where credit's due, but for Mike, how much of an input, Mike, will you have when it comes to play calling and some of these schemes we're talking about? And would you occasionally run the script and call your own plays in a certain situation?
I mean, in terms of input that I'm going to have, just based on historically having worked with Jordan for a number of years. I mean, I think me and him have been on the same team for 4 seasons. This upcoming will be 5, but during, all but one of those years, he was the quarterback coach. So, it's certainly not like, oh, he was just a guy on the staff. It was somebody that I worked 8 hours a day with. So, he's somebody that I have a ton of confidence and a high comfort level with. And I think that works both ways. So, what I know about Jordan is that, he doesn't need input from me. He's extremely intelligent. And as I said before, very creative. So he doesn't need that input, but he asks for it, right? There's some coaches, that I've worked with in the past that they want to do their thing their own way, and you're just there to run the system, right? And that's fine too. That can be very successful. But what I've found for most guys, myself included, is that you play the best when you're the most comfortable with what you're running. And the way to have that happen is to be in the room all the time, understanding the game plan and understanding, what we're trying to accomplish against the defense that we're playing. But I think that I've been around and played enough football and see things a certain way, where if I'm watching film with the coaching staff and I see something that I think might work, I feel confident to be able to voice my opinion and tell them, what I think we should maybe give a try to, and then they'll bounce the idea around. And sometimes those ideas get put in and sometimes they don't. But generally speaking, if they don't, there's a reason for it, and they see an angle that maybe I missed and say, okay, that's great, but we can't protect it or this or that, we want to save that for another week. And that's how the process works. On game day, it's very rare in my career that I call plays during the game. There are certain times when that's necessary. Generally, it's when you're in your 2-minute type of offense, when there's very little time left, and you're just trying to eliminate that part of the process of the communication. But again, historically, the types of offenses that me and Jordan have ran together have a large element of no huddle and speed to them already. So it's really not necessary when the time clock is running down. We already know how to operate at a very fast pace. So I prefer it to be that way. I got enough things that I'm worried about on the field that I'm thinking of. I don't need to be worried about what play I want to call 3 plays from now. That's the offensive coordinator's job. That's their job description. And we couldn't have a better guy doing it than Jordan. And I'm excited to be able to work with him again.
Have another one here for you, Mike. And you've talked, I think, after you re-signed and given your updates there about how, you're about as healthy as you were, I think, when you first came into the league. I mean, maybe that's a quote unquote benefit of not playing that year, but Bill in Burnaby wants to know, your perspective on that, being off the field for over a year. Can it end up potentially extending your career because you had kind of an extended break there?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think that remains to be seen. I think that's the big question that, all of us veteran players wonder. I'd like to believe that, yes, that is the case. But, time will tell. Obviously, the proof will be in the pudding, right? But, I do look at the timing of it. And there are certainly worse times in my career that a stoppage of play could have happened. I think about when I was younger, when I was first getting my opportunities to play, a lot of times you just don't have that experience. You don't have that game experience. You don't have the snaps where you've seen, enough things to really understand what's going on. And so you're just trying to make plays happen any way possible, whether it's running around, extending time, things like that. But you're also riding the momentum, right? Every year you're riding the momentum of what you learned the year before. And that's the case even now, but I have a longer bank of history to draw off of, right? So it's not going to take me, I don't believe, as much time to knock off the mental rust as it would be to say a guy that's only played 10 or 20 games in his career, and so I'm thankful that I do have, all of that history to draw back on and the mental understanding that I picked up over the last decade. Generally, as you get older, you get smarter when it comes to football, but your body starts to break down. So that year and a half off that we'll have had by the time we play again, and I think it was Rick or maybe Neil, I'm not sure who touched on it earlier, that our offensive linemen were saying this is the healthiest they've ever been because they're not destroying their bodies. And it's certainly the same for me, so I don't know if you can say that you just take this season that we lost and tack it on to the end of your career. But if there's any position that's capable of doing that outside of kickers, which they can play forever anyway, ask Paul McCallum, but quarterbacks, generally speaking, towards the end, it's not that their mental acuity is diminished or that their on the field performance is lacking because of their understanding. It's because of the physical ability and their body just can't take it anymore. So hopefully a year and a half off will just extend that amount of time that our other 2 panelists have to deal with me. That would be great.
Well, that Tom Brady guy is still doing okay at 43. I'm not trying to plant ideas in your head, but just you never know.
The confidence to throw the Lombardi off the back of a boat. You're doing something right.
Hey, the Grey Cup would be a monumental task, heavier trophy. Yes.
Do you think you could catch it? If I had to throw the Grey Cup to you, would you catch it?
The mini Grey Cup I have, yeah.
You would look worse than Shinetti trying to catch a football on the sideline.
Oh, no. Okay.
And that's hard to do.
Don't go that. That's a low blow right there.
I'm just telling you what I call it. Like
okay. Content. We're getting content ideas here. Hey, you talked about kickers as well. Neil, Rick, whoever wants to take this one, just put your hand up. But it was Shelley wanting to know just about that. Who's going to be our field goal kicker? Unmute yourself. There you go.
That's one of the $1 million questions right now. So we definitely have a game plan and some ideas. Whether that's someone that was doing it last year, possibly. Also, the global situation may play into it too. There's some really good guys coming out that fit that global category, which is basically anybody that's not American or Canadian. So definitely have some strategies. Not going to totally tip our hand, but definitely a position we still need to address, but it's something that we have planned and accounted for. And so we'll let that play out over the next month or so.
Continue with Neil and Rick here. It's hard to pinpoint just one, but Doug and Surrey was wanting to know who has you the most excited out of these signings that we've been talking about. If you could say, I know it's hard to pinpoint one, but Neil?
Yeah, it is hard, to be quite honest. We've added some good group. We have a guy like Marcus Sales has given us our defensive backfield a lot of stability. A guy like Lucky Whitehead has given us a lot of speed. A guy like Shaq Cooper has given us speed and athleticism on the ground and in the air. A guy like Bill Lacumbo, arguably the most athletic linebacker in 3-down football. So all these guys give me excitement to get onto the field and see what type of football team we have. And you know what? I'm just excited about all of them. A guy like Mike Reilly we brought back, excited about bringing him. And I was excited last year and excited still. So every guy that we have under contract, I'm excited about. Even the young guys, old guys, they all fit the mold of what we try to do and what we're trying to do. And that's why we put pen to paper and made them BC Lions again.
But for me, I'll be quick on this, but it was two parts for me. One was re-signing and restructuring the guys that were already BC Lions. Because like when you first started going into this, the task was pretty daunting, just the amount of people that needed to restructure or sign new contracts. So that was daunting. So just, Mike Reilly or Brian Burnham or TJ Lee or our offensive line or whoever it is, I know I'm leaving people out, but just those guys, getting those guys back, that was the biggest hurdle to overcome. And then like Neil said, I think that these guys we've added in, they're home run hitter type guys. They're ultra fast guys so that when you get the ball to them in space, big things happen. So I think that's a good mix to have in with our current crew.
Lamar Durant, Shaq Johnson, David Mackey, all of them. I agree. It's
the guys that are all the core group of the team that are the BC Lions. So that was like step one of free agency. And then, like I said, you had to add in the other guys that definitely bring a different wrinkle to it.
Neil, you just mentioned him. I had Bruce weighing in with a question. Could you, maybe this is more of a Rick Campbell question, but can you see a scenario where the fullbacks are a bit more involved in the offense?
So is this David Mackey's agent? Is this the question? Or
might be.
I can't remember if Mackey has like a clause in his contract where if he catches a certain amount of passes, Neil, is that in his contract? Or we're going to have to check into that.
Could be Villamazar too. You never.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, if you talk to Jordan McSimic, when we're talking football and doing all that, he is a big believer in using the fullback type bodies, especially the hybrid guys that can block or can run out for passes or things like that. So I would expect that you will definitely see a decent dose of those guys in our offense this year.
I think we have a.
Hey,
I think we have a package we're going to use. We take Burnham out, and we put Mackey in, and just throw him some balls. That's probably.
That's it.
Yeah, next thing you know, Riker Matthews or someone, or Figueroa, one of these guys will want to play drawn up for them. We got to get Jordan Maximic on our next one of these, because everyone that's.
You saw what happened in the Super Bowl.
Well, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to go Wildcat, so you're going to see 13 lined up as a wideout. And then we'll really
run those wide receiver screens, right?
That's it. There you go.
Great. That's great.
A Wildcat, yes. Tribute to 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. Neil and Rick, we have Mike here, and we expect him, like we've been talking about, to be playing for many, many, many more years. But we've had a couple of fans submit questions on the rest of the depth chart. Coach Rick, I know you know Will Arndt very well from your time in Ottawa. He started for you, I think, in 2019 toward the end. Nathan Rourke, whom we drafted last year. What can you say about the entire group of your quarterbacks coming into camp?
I'm excited about it. Will fits into that category of what Mike was talking about, a guy that's played that 10 to 20 amount, 20 games in his career. So he's a younger guy. The good news is he knows our terminology, and he knows a whole chunk of the offense as far as how we call routes and how we call things. So that's going to be a big help for him coming in. And I think the guy's got something where he can grow and challenge to try to be a productive starter in this league. So that remains to be seen. And I think Will would tell you the same thing, but I know he's a hungry guy that is going to give it a good run. And I know he'll be good in the quarterback room. Nathan, I sure was excited we got Nathan Rourke in the draft. Regardless of Canadian American, that doesn't matter to me. I just thought he was a really good football player, and you'd have to check the stats on it. But I know in college, his college, Ohio University, I think they'd won one bowl game their whole existence, and he won for sure 2, but I think it's 3 as their starting quarterback. So the guy wins games. So another exciting thing, he's local, he's around here, and I just think it's going to be an exciting group. So the young crew hanging out with the old man here, I think they'll rub off on him pretty well.
I will say I've got
Gage Jubred from Washington State on that.
Correct.
Also with that group. And I know it's not Central Washington,
by the way. Hey, I started out, as a Cougar,
there you go.
Cougar Gold cheese over there. But I've had the opportunity to have a couple of online meetings with Jordan and the rest of the quarterbacks that Rick was just talking about, and they seem like great guys that just fit the mold of again what we're trying to build. Guys that you want in your locker room, guys that you want in your quarterback room, because obviously my plan is to stay healthy and play all season long. Whether or not that happens, you still got to have a good group of guys in there, because even, if they got to take the field and play, of course, they got to be able to do it well. But even if they're not playing, that supporting cast that you have behind you as the starter is as important as anything else in this league. And, I try to take that role very seriously during my time in BC to begin with, when Travis was the starter. And I've been blessed to have some really good guys that I've worked with as my time as a starter. And I'm excited about working with this group too. I think they're both really smart guys. They seem like great people, but they can play football too, which is the most important thing, right?
Central Washington. That's Ellensburg, right, Mike?
You know where it's at.
Been there many times. I've been many times, actually. Yeah.
You've gone into the bookstore and tried to buy a number 13 jersey. I know.
Yeah. I mean, my first job in the industry, Vancouver Canadians, that was where we'd stop on the way home. Those bus rides home from Boise, Spokane, wherever. So I know my Washington small towns. Anyway, we've got we're not quite in the 3-minute warning left, but we're going to get as much questions in as we can between now and in the next 10-15 minutes. Longtime loyal fan, Glenn in Vancouver, doesn't miss much. Neil, maybe this is a Neil question. Rick, you can weigh in as well. If the start of the season gets delayed, how could that potentially impact going to Kamloops for training camp? I mean, how late in the year would you have to make that call, or does the time of year not matter?
Yeah, we've talked to the city of Kamloops. We want to be in Kamloops for training camp, and other than delaying till something that we just can't do it, Kamloops is going to be ready for us. Obviously, training camp is on at the campus of the Thompson Rivers University, so you have to factor in when school starts again. But to be quite honest, summer months are pretty open for us, and that's one of the reasons why it's a great location, along with the weather and just the infrastructure they have there is really good. And we're going to make the best chance or the best opportunity for us to get up to campus is what we're going to try to do.
Well said. Yeah, it is the best setting in Canadian football, if not pro football, is Kamloops. Whenever we do get back there, will be a great day. Hopefully, planning to this year in 2021. Now, good question here from Chris. And go to you first, Coach Rick. Chris simply wants to know what would success look like to you and the staff this season? What's a successful year?
Winning the Grey Cup. That's what you do this for, is to win it. That's what the goal is all the time. And so that's my short answer of it. The key to it though is you can't think about that right now, is you got to do all the work, over the off season work, and then all the training camp and all that stuff to put yourself in a position to be able to do that. But that's the goal every year. And if that's not the goal, then I don't know why you'd be doing it. So anyway, that's it.
Beautiful. Well said. Yes, it's all about winning championships at the end of the day. Neil, had one coming in here. I know this one. This was a player you played a big role in getting here for 2019. Jay wants to know any indication on if we'll get Javon Catoy back this season. I know the club holds his rights. I think it's been reported he had a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders, but any indication on Mr. Catoy in 2021?
Yeah, so Javon's had workouts actually with Houston and now Las Vegas, and we retained his rights until he wants to come back to play. And right now he's exploring all his NFL opportunities, and when those are exhausted, we'll be here. And if he does sign in the NFL, we'll be cheering him on. So Javon Catoy will be a BC Lion or a player in the NFL in 2021.
And further to that, Neil, what does that say? I mean, so many times these local guys, these territorial exemptions, I think you call them, don't always have expectations of being, I guess.
Oh, man, that's a shame. We just lost Baker.
I think Javon was our nominee.
So Andrew Polkernick's a young man that we signed, is also a Langley Ram as a territorial exemption pick. And, you can go back, Andrew Harris, Sean White. So I know we don't give them expectations, but tell you what, there's been some good football players that have come out of the BC Junior Football League, and Javon Catoy is just one of those guys. And we're going to continue to, mine those football players. The province of BC, or the BC Junior Football League, brings in talent from across the country, and that's, we've been able to piggyback off them and are good partners with them, and they've been able to, get us some good players to, get them, indoctrinated into the Canadian Football League and professional football. So we'll continue to do that.
Nicely done. Yeah, sorry, I froze there for a sec, but I'm here. You haven't seen the last of me, Michael. I'm still here. So
we were concerned.
Yeah.
We were really worried about you. We thought something happened, maybe.
forgot to pay the internet bill. So, hey, this has been great. Leave the floor open to each of you for a couple more minutes. Any message each of you wants to leave with for our great and loyal season ticket holders here. Neil, you've got seniority on this group. I'll start with you.
Just excited about getting started. You know what, Matt, one of the questions that was asked, and I'll ask it, they were talking about Solomon El-Mimi, and I just wanted to take this time to wish him congratulations on a great football career, an amazing BC Lion. And you know what? I'm excited about welcoming him to the Lower Mainland as someone who's going to live and work and, be part of our community. And that's what BC Lion football is all about. Bringing in good young men to come in and compete at the professional level. And a lot of those guys continue to stay here in, the Lower Mainland and in the state of Washington. And they're all players. They're our alumni. And I'm just excited for him to continue on and go on to the next step in his career in life. Other than that, I can't wait for 2021 to start. We have a good football team, and I know we have some good season ticket holders and a bunch of good fans that are going to cheer us on to victory.
Yeah, well said. Shameless plug. I did speak to Solomon last week, bclions.com. You want to check it out. Rick Campbell, the floor is yours.
Well, I think of everything that's gone on this year and what's happened, but the day I know is coming. I don't know the exact date, but the day that is coming is we will all be over in BC Place playing CFL football, playing Lions football, and winning football games, and that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what keeps me going on getting ready for this year. So I can't wait to see everybody out there in 2021.
Michael.
Yeah, man.
Speak
sure.
now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, well, I mean, what can I say? I don't think that I've ever allowed anybody to accuse me of being somebody that takes football for granted. You know, I try to play the game every snap as if it were my last, because I know that it always could be. But I think if there's anything that this year has taught me and all of my teammates and our fan base when it comes to football is how great our game really is and how much we miss it, how much it sucks not to be playing. So, you know, I look forward to every year starting up. I always have incredible optimism about the team that I'm going to be playing on. This year, there's a number of reasons that I have that, of course, because of the coaching staff that we have and the GM situation and the roster that we built and just all these different changes and things like that. You know, but I just have more excitement about playing this year than I probably ever have playing a season of professional football, because I truly miss everything about it. I miss training camp. I miss being in Canada. I miss seeing the people, you know, at practice, at training camp, Fan Fest, and you know, in BC Place, and going on the road with the guys, and winning games in opposing stadiums, and just all the different things. I miss all of it, you know. And so I hope that everybody else feels the same way with the excitement level. And again, I don't know when that date's going to be. Hopefully it's going to be on time. And if it's not, then whenever it is, we'll figure it out. But it's going to be a great return. And I'm just excited for everybody that's going to be involved.
Very well said. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our president, Rick Lawlisher, for joining us earlier tonight. We'll speak more with him next week, like we talked about. Thanks to you, great fans, for sticking through us through these difficult times. We know how difficult it was in many respects in 2020, but one thing we can always count on is the great fans that support us through thick and thin. And I'll leave with this. Neil, is that the 2011 Grey Cup you got on in the office there? Need your microphone.
Sorry, I'm not sure, man. My TV is just football 24/7, and whatever's on is on. So.
Good answer. Thanks to all of you for joining us again tonight, and we will do this again sooner rather than later, I feel. Thanks, everybody.